Hey kids, Lisa here from Mindful Tarot. And tonight I want to pose a question that I think is at the very center of all of our collective and individual endeavors with the tarot. No matter what you think that your activity with tarot is, whether you think that what's at stake is divination and cartomancy, or whether you think that this is all about a kind of therapeutic tarot, as Katie Flowers uses the phrase, or you're doing light work, or you're doing shadow work, or whatever you understand your activity with tarot to be, your journey with tarot to be. I want to suggest that there's one question that we all share, even though our orientations to the 78 may be wildly different. And that question is this: Is meaning discovered, or is it created? Is meaning something that we unearth, that we discover, that we reveal, pulling the veil off? Is meaning something that is hidden, arcane? The word arcane means hidden, so the major arcana, the minor arcana. Is it secret? The word secret, like things are secreted away, tucked away, hidden away. Is meaning secret, something that we need to dig out? Or is meaning something like a bridge, or like a piece of architecture, or like a cupcake, or like a garden? Is meaning something that we build, that we create, that we cultivate? Is meaning something discovered, or is meaning something created? Now, before you do the, I'm an academic, so I know this trick. Before you do the academic trick where you say, well, it's neither created nor discovered, it's both and. Meaning is both created and discovered. Before you do that little split the difference trick, I just want to say that it won't help you. It won't help you think that meaning is both created and discovered. I mean, undoubtedly that's true, but what does that really mean? How can meaning both be something that pre-exists my activity as an interpreter, as a reader of cards, as a cartomancer? How can meaning both be something that pre-exists and be something that I create? Right? How can it both pre-exist my activity and be created by my activity? Now, I think it probably is both and, but what does that really mean? Okay, that's my deep question. And it's a question that I think, from the Zen tradition, we might talk about a koan, like a question like, what's the sound of one hand clapping? Or show me your original face. These questions that are nonsensical, that are that crack open our minds, boom, and take us into a different relationship to ourselves and our world. I think that this question about meaning is the koan at the heart of tarology, at the heart of tarot. And it's also the question that animates the last 3 tarot decks that I have acquired, starting with a Grande Tarot Esoterico. Now, this, I think, is a simply beautiful deck, and I know almost nothing about it. I learned a little bit about it from Kelly in the Truth and Story, and her, I'll link below, her work on the Eudes Picard system of minors, which this employs. But this also, I mean, this is full of Kabbalah, it's full of astrology. It's such a deep deck that Christine Payne Towler writes about it, right? So, if CPT is writing about it, it's going to be deep. And I mean, it is also, this is the 1976 edition of it, which, I mean, these are not hard to acquire. You can spend a lot on them on eBay, but you actually don't have to. So it's a Fernier deck. So Aecletic, I don't speak Spanish. Fernier has the pleasure of introducing this tarot, which is the first true and holy Spanish tarot in origination and design, on the occasion of the 600th anniversary of the existence of playing cards in Europe. Vitoria, April 1976. So this Spanish deck was designed to be the first truly original Spanish deck, like the creation of a Spanish Marseille. The thing about it is that idea of trying to be the first, like original, and also trying to uncover the deep esoteric meaning, that's that kind of both and thing I was talking about. Like meaning is both something that I create and I discover. And it was made by a woman, this deck. So it starts with, in the preface, the desire to know what lies beyond existence and this mortal coil, quoting Hamlet, which is relevant for the next deck I'm going to look at, and this mortal coil has been deeply rooted in mankind since time immemorial. So that idea of trying to know what lies beyond, what's hidden, as this kind of fundamental human drive, and yet also this sense of let's create something new, let's be completely original. You know, all of that very deep philosophical stuff, but also I just love this deck. So I haven't worked with it at all. I haven't even really lingered with the cards. I've flipped through them, no more than that. But I love the I love the cardstock. You know, the backs are okay. I love the colors. I love the simplicity. That's got to be Solomon, right? Let's cut that baby in half. Split the difference. I love this hermit. I love the typeface. I love the fact that it's in Spanish, which I don't read. I can sort of fake it. You know, and then when you go to the minors. Oh, and for Kasha at Tarot Map, I know you always think that temperance cards are really boring, and this is just very traditional. But there's something about, I don't know, there's something about the kind of swirls in the water, and the water is that kind of solid thing. I love this tower. I really groove on this deck. I really love that sun. Yeah, I want to get to know it. I want to work with it. If anyone has, you see how the swords are associated with water here. That's that kind of pivot in the Eudes Picard system, and you know, something like the crystal tarots of Elisabetta Trevisan. We see that too. Anyway, if any of you work with this deck or know good resources on it, besides Christine Payne-Towler's work on it, which is great and deep, and I've read just one article by her, and I'm wondering if there's other stuff. But anyway, if you know stuff about this deck, let me know. Comment below. The second deck is this deck, the Shakespeare Tarot, and it is I think it was a Kickstarter. No, maybe an Indiegogo deck. The author is Leech, Christopher Leech, Leech. I think it's Christopher. And this deck is freaking sane. It is just an insane deck. It's all landscape. It's impossible. There's no way to read this deck. This deck is not designed to be read, as far as I can tell. It's a deck that's designed to plumb all of the depths and all of the mysteries associated with William Shakespeare. So Leech is part of the world that has this kind of profound conspiracy theory that says William Shakespeare, the son of a glove maker, he could never have been the William Shakespeare who wrote the greatest poetry in English. This very classist argument that, you know, someone who didn't go to college couldn't have written the play, someone who you know, apparently never traveled abroad could not have written about foreign lands. I mean, that argument that William Shakespeare is not William Shakespeare, but is instead, like in Leech's case, he thinks it's Edward de Vere, the Earl of Oxford. It has to be an aristocrat. That argument starts to appear historically toward the end of the 18th century into the 19th century. So nobody in the 17th century, in the early 18th century, nobody questions whether Shakespeare is Shakespeare. But there's something about the shift toward the sort of the modern era and kind of the industrial age, and shifting ideas about the middle class and anxieties about the rising middle class that make it really, really dangerous to imagine that a working class son, working class, you know, his father was a, you know, respected landowner, but that, or more or less respected, that someone like that couldn't possibly have been the Shakespeare. Anyway, this idea, the conspiracy theory stuff, and the desire to create a deck that kind of encompasses everything, again, this is the same issue. Christopher Leech, I hope his name is Christopher, he's trying to pull together, construct the compendium of all knowledge. Look how insane this deck is. I mean, I love it. I love this deck. And it's illegible. It's completely unreadable because he's trying to pull together all knowledge. Like, let me create all meaning and pull it into one deck. And it has all of these extra cards, and then the compendium volume, companion volume that comes with it is a compendium. It's just this thick, chunky discussion. Actually, very learned. Leech knows his Shakespeare. I mean, he knows the plays of William Shakespeare. And he's trying to really know the secrets of Shakespeare. So it's that desire to know the secrets, and then the way that that also ties into this creative activity that I'm really interested in. Like, isn't it really interesting that the desire to uncover the truth then sort of unleashes this original activity? The last deck, and I'm just going to say like one word about it because the time is late and I have things to do. But it's the Barbara Walker Tarot. And I actually got this deck a while ago. I got a Barbara Walker Tarot a while ago, but it was sealed. And I just recently got another version of the deck that was unsealed. So this is a vintage copy of the deck, so mid-1980s. I also own the new US Games tin version. And actually the images aren't really any bigger in the full size version of the deck. The full size version is really close to the tin version. Maybe we'll do a comparison video at some point. But the cards feel really nice, and the proportions on the back with the border are much nicer. Anyway, this deck, another deck that is really crazy, and you know, it just is doing a lot. There's elements of the tote deck, there's Rider-Waite-Smith stuff, there's all of this kind of mythology, and it's based on this book, The Secrets of the Tarot, Origins, History, and Symbolism. And again, it's that drive toward the hidden meaning, which unleashes this creative, really fertile, imaginative act where things get completely recast in the image of the interpreter who defines him or herself as being the true disciple or initiate or intuitive who's getting to the truth. But in the process of getting to the truth, uncovering the truth, this initiate is creating a whole bunch of new stuff. Isn't that cool? Okay, that was a little wandering jaunt through the thickets of Lisa's brain. I hope it made sense. And in any event, those are my last 3 tarot decks. Good night, all.